For the last month, we've all been living in a film. Something that could have been scripted by Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino locates his drama in one era, but this production has been located in two. The first is the 21st century, when a fast-talking 33-year-old Saudi prince strides onto the world stage, posing as a reformer, confident, corner-cutting, the scourge of the old, the bearer, we are told, of moderate Islam. Jamal told me that this moderate was building his fourth yacht. But this story is only 1 foot in the 21st century. The other is the 10th century. This is when the lords of the manor descended into their dungeons to hear the screams of their victims. Jamal was killed with medieval savagery. His screams were recorded by his killers. His death lasted for 7 minutes. This is the point at which a Saudi prince is indistinguishable from the Islamic State, where the moderate becomes the monster. Until Jamal's murder, the border between the 21st and the 10th centuries was frictionless. Imagine if Jamal had not stepped into the consulate. The great and good would have descended on Davos in the desert. Uber, Richard Branson, Christine Lagarde would have all fawned at the feet of the boy king while the population of Hodeida starves. Tyranny with a lip gloss of liberalism. After 4 weeks of lies and bribes, an avalanche of evidence points to the Tiger Squad, a death squad whose commanders were hand-picked by Mohammed bin Salman, but of whose deeds he is miraculously totally ignorant. He's unaware, too, of the 4 calls the head of the squad, Mutreb, made to his own chief of staff on October the 2nd, the day of the killing. So the Crown Prince silenced the voice, but he's also turned himself into a toxic brand. He's now the last person on earth you'd want to be seen with. Unless, of course, you're John Flint, CEO of HSBC. Flint admitted today that it had been a difficult few weeks for the kingdom. He understood the emotion behind the story, but it was difficult to disengage with Saudi Arabia. How interesting that a proven crime conducted by state actors on state property and territory has managed to become a subject of emotions rather than international law. You would imagine an international banker to be rather keen on international law. The millions of dollars spent plastering the prince's face over the billboards of London, buying think tanks, academics, journalists, have been consumed in the wildfire of Jamal's murder. Why has the murder of one man unleashed such a reaction? Why has it taken this murder to stop the German arms sales, but not the British, French, or American ones, when the bombing of a school bus in Yemen didn't? It would take a psychiatrist, not a journalist, to explain this. Jamal has touched a guilty nerve in all of us. It's not what Jamal said so much as what he refused to say that made him the existential enemy of despots. It was his moderation, his credibility, his legitimacy that so alarmed illegitimate rulers. He refused to toe the line, to shut up, to take the king's shilling. Had he done so, he'd be rich and very much alive today. But Jamal wouldn't play the game. He once told me how humiliated he felt after a year of silence. What's the point of being a journalist, David, if you cannot write what you see in front of you? It's my duty, not my job. I sat there nodding. But I don't think any of us appreciated the danger he was really in. Has anything changed 4 weeks on? Jamal's murder has shown us that our closest allies are not just unstable, but a source of instability. The arch-disciple of realpolitik, the US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis must really be asking himself who damages American interests more, its enemies or its allies. Despots never tire of telling us that the Arabs are not mature enough for democracy. It's the other way around. Despots never know when their time is up. The Arab state is dying in their hands. Everyone knows this, from nationalist to Islamist, from secular to religious, from liberal to conservative. Jamal knew and paid for this truth with his life. His death may yet prove a turning point. The tragedy is that it took Jamal's death for the mask to slip, for the two worlds to collide. For if ever the page of history turns, it can only be with people like Jamal that the region will build a more stable future. I will miss him. The Arab Peninsula will miss him. The Arab world will miss him. He's a true hero of our times. Thank you.